Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 141 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast discussing how to choose your first market to invest in. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Before we get into the show, let's go over a question from one of our featured Discord members. Today's question is from Ryan. Ryan asked, "Hey everyone, what is your response rate from LOCs versus individuals? Do you even mail LOCs?"
Yeah, so he's asking, so do we mail LLCs? It's a pretty straightforward question. Absolutely, we do, Ryan. I don't know our actual response rate on LLCs versus individuals. The majority of our sellers, that being said, are individuals, but we've had some of our best deals where we're buying from LLCs, and a lot of people use an LLC, Daniel, as just a holding company. Like it's not being used as a company, anything like that. It's just a holding company for them and it protects them more so when they're buying their property. And it's a lot of times it's business people that I see that are holding their property in LLCs when they're not really doing anything business like with it. It's just holding the property, just like us holding our rental properties in a LLC to prevent or to help with some liability concerns.
Exactly. And we buy plenty of properties in corporations. We've bought in corporations, Ron, LLCs, you name it, we've bought it. So we,
Trust.
like Ron said, we don't, trust, a lot of trust. Do not avoid trust. That happens a lot. So the key is to not completely avoid them, keep them in there, and you'll get deals back. I think the conversion rates might be a little lower, Ron, but there's still plenty of deals. And like we say, the mail efficiency is always very, very good either way. But
Exactly.
other than that, let's get into the show. How to choose your first market to invest in. And this is a land investing style podcast. So we're going to talk about land. Like we get that question all the time, Ron, on our Wednesday webinars. Everyone asks who's not involved or not a member in our program, Ron. They always ask, how do I find a market? How do I choose a market to invest in? There's how many counties? Do you know how many counties are in the US?
Over 3,000, less than 3,500. So somewhere in there.
So 3,000 counties in the US to mail. How are you going to start? Let's get into that. And let's explain how we traditionally do things, Ron, the rural land style. We're not going into Atlanta or we're not going into Cincinnati, Ohio or any metro area, Tampa, and buying these infill lots. For the most part, we're doing rural land. So I wanted to throw that out there first.
Yeah, I think the last month or two, Dan, we've been talking about like upper level questions. And I think getting back to the basics with this type of episode is really good because this is a very typical spot for people to get held up on. There's 3,000 counties, there's a ton of counties, and that makes it more difficult to narrow in on an area or a couple counties. So understanding how to choose counties is really important. That being said, you don't really know until you send the mail, but what we look at, so like Daniel said, we don't go into urban areas typically in terms of like big cities. We like to be 2 to 3 counties removed from bigger cities. Whatever. You said Atlanta, so I'm going to say Atlanta again. But it can be Los Angeles out there, 3 counties removed from there. It can be San Francisco, whatever it is. We like to be 2 to 3 counties removed, and that's going to give us rural America. That's going to put us in better price ranges. It's going to give us opportunities to buy higher acreages. You're not going to find 20 acres in the middle of Atlanta, Georgia, or in the middle of Los Angeles. It's just not going to happen. Where you go 2, 3 counties removed, you can find some killer deals and a lot of motivated sellers who are willing to sell their 20 acres. And then you're going to sell it to the person in that urban area where they want their weekend retreat. They want to put their cabin. They want to, whatever, build a second home, whatever it is. Those are the situations we run into so much. And that's kind of our key focus. That's the basis of everything we do and how we choose areas.
Let me clarify. So if you're out west in Los Angeles, in San Bernardino County, you will be able to go east of Los Angeles and find 20 acres because the counties out west are so big. So when we say 1 to 2 counties removed, Ron's talking about like the East Coast where we have
Yeah.
100+ counties in one state. It's just they're ridiculous how small the counties are on the East Coast, and that's more what he's referring to. But at the same time, you can go 5, 6 counties removed. It doesn't need to be 1 to 2 removed. That's
Yeah.
just generally where we start, and we'll branch out from there. So we'll take a metro area like given, let's just say Cincinnati, Ohio, and we'll go 1 county removed, 2 counties removed, 3 counties removed, 4 counties, and really collect data on the whole. We'll get more into that, what we're actually looking at, but we'll collect data on the whole area, not just 1 to 2 counties removed. That's just kind of a base where we
Yeah.
start because we're not going to start in Hamilton County, Ohio, which is Cincinnati, and attack 20 acres, like Ron said. We're going to jump out an acre, or we're going to jump out a county, then we're going to jump out another county, and so on. But the next segment I wanted to get into, Ron, is you can truly do this from anywhere. Go against the grain. Don't just see Ron and I are doing it in New York and everyone goes to New York,
Mhm.
or you see a friend in New York doing it. So you're going to New York. Go against the grain, go to areas that people aren't necessarily investing in, because what happens is these areas get diluted at times because people go to the same areas when there's, like you said, 3,000 counties out there. Why are 50% of the people going to 2 counties, Ron? And I think things just get a little diluted at the time. There's so much land out there available in this is extremely unsaturated market, Ron, land flipping. We're at the infant stages of things. Never been a better time to get involved. And there's so many counties that are completely untouched.
Yep. Yeah, I had a coaching call this morning and he's doing some counties that like I've never heard of. And I've done this for so long, like most counties I have heard of in the country. And I like going over pricing when you're pricing counties like that, that there's just not in other investors. There are not other investors competing with him. You can be a lot more lenient on your pricing. Pricing becomes less important when you're in counties like that. He's done 2 deals so far. One deal, he offered them $8,000 and they came back and asked for 16, I think, or something, and he agreed to like 14 and he sold it for $55,000. So he priced horribly. He priced horribly and he made $70,000 in this county because other people aren't investing there. It was like, and I think he'll admit it, like he's just severely underpriced. His 2 deals were both well under 30% when he got it. It's amazing that he got those deals and he's going to remail this county. Imagine what's going to happen when he remails this county and prices more aggressively and more appropriately and starts offering these people $25,000 when it's worth 52 opposed to offering $8,000.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So to sum that up, Ron, I guess just going in areas that interest you, going in areas where you're from, just being different.
Don't
Everyone's
be a
kind of
follower.
flocking. Yeah, don't be a follower. Go against the grain because this system works everywhere. We didn't start doing it like we haven't only seen this done in one state. We've seen this done in 40 plus states, and there are just so many areas that are unhit. So I just want to reiterate, just like if you are in a market that you think's a little saturated right now and you're doing okay, but you want to try another area, stay in that market as well. Try a few different areas, try some across the country, maybe wherever. I mean, there's like Pacific Northwest, Ron, the North, Minnesota,
Yep.
Michigan, that's all primarily untouched. The Pacific Northwest, the Northeast doesn't have a lot of people. The Midwest doesn't have a lot of people. I feel like there's just certain areas that are like California, like Southern
Yep.
California, Ron, Arizona,
There's so
used to
much.
be there's just so much land out there. So just go against the grain's the main thing I wanted to point out there, Ron. But let's talk about actually things we're looking for. So getting back to the basics, Ron. So we select an area we're interested in. Maybe it's outside Portland, Oregon. And we're looking for areas outside Portland, Oregon. And what exactly are we looking for? I know we look at time land takes to sell. How
Yep.
many properties are for sale that we're going to be competing with? The days on market.
Yep.
We have a good eye test we put to use. Like what are we looking for now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for areas where I don't want it to be too expensive. And what I tell our members is like, especially when you're first starting out, and that's what we're talking about, is don't have 5 acres market value be $400,000. It's just gonna be really difficult to get land. And that's gonna be like very closer to urban, maybe 1 county removed in some areas of the country. That's very expensive. I love when 5 acres is marketing for anywhere from 40 to 60. I tell our members, like when you're first starting out, keep 5 acres market value under $100,000. That's kind of the price point I look at. That's where I see people having the most success. You start getting over that, it gets really expensive. It becomes really difficult to close these deals, or more difficult. It's not unfeasible. It's feasible. But that being said, it is more difficult, especially as a new person getting into this. So try to keep that. Look for areas where land is selling within a month. So if you go through Zillow, Redfin, whatever it is, you you find 5 properties that you think were all priced fairly. Okay, let's look at when this was listed for sale, when this was pending. I'm looking for normal properties that are selling within a month to 45 days. And that is a really good indicator of a market because you're going to buy this land. You got to figure out how to sell it on the back end. That tells me that there are buyers out there and that you're not going to hold the land for 6, 9, 12 months.
Exactly. And especially in these emerging markets or changing markets around, you have to make sure the markets you choose, maybe they're a little hotter. Maybe you want a little bit of more hot markets than you did maybe 12, 16 months ago where things were just going like crazy. Now things are slowing on the selling end. Maybe we need to adjust and go in hotter markets, Ron. But the main thing is just make sure the average land, Ron said normal land, make sure the average piece of land, so not a lakefront property, no defects on it, find normal pieces of property and make sure they're moving if they're priced properly. Why aren't they moving if they're not? And look, if they're moving 30, 45 days and they're priced properly, market value, and they sold around that price, that's a good sign. That means you're going to post your property, your 5 acres, for $50,000 and it's going to move in 30 to 40 days or so. And that's what you want to see. Normal pieces of land, try to filter out the bad comps. We always, always, always emphasize that because there's just so many garbage land comps, Ron. You have
Yep.
to put focus on the ones that actually are normal pieces of land that you're going to get back.
Yep. I want to kind of get into, Dan. I don't know what you had. Getting into some of the mistakes we see from newer people in choosing markets. Did you have something else in mind? I think that's a good place because telling you guys what we have seen people go wrong when first choosing a market, I think is really important to help you guys avoid those situations.
Yeah, and the number one thing we've seen is like, okay, someone loves Jackson Hole and they want to invest in property in Jackson Hole, but Jackson Hole 5 acres goes for $500,000 because it's Jackson Hole,
What's Jackson
and
Hole?
it's a ski town that all the celebrities and
Got
everyone
it.
flies in their private jets into. It's just ridiculous priced land, and it's a really desirable area, really nice, beautiful out west, and Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Got it.
Um, and so if you love that area, like I do, like we said, go against the grain, but go one removed from Jackson Hole. Try to get that land a little cheaper. It's just you don't want to tack, especially in Colorado and Utah and Wyoming, Ron, where you have some of these beautiful, beautiful ski towns. These properties, 5 acres can go for literally 500 grand. Like
Yep.
it's insane what some of the properties go for. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see personally is people trying to attack these really, really desirable, expensive areas.
Yeah. Another one is I think like micro testing areas, Dan. I see a lot where people send 600 mailers to an area, whatever, they don't get a deal, which is very normal with 5 to 600 mailers. And then they're like, okay, this area doesn't work. I can't buy any land in this area. So once you choose an area to go into, let's send 4,000 mailers, 4 to 5,000 mailers minimum. You can spread that out through months. You can spread that out in different counties. But if you choose like a region of a state that you want to attack, try to get 4 to 5,000 mailers out there so you can kind of actually get some real results to evaluate what's going on. Don't send 3, 4, 700 mailers, whatever it is, and just test the area. And then based on that, like you're deciding like whether you should send more. That's not a good way to go about it. You're losing a lot of deals by doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the two main ones I see, Ron. Do you have any others that big mistakes people do when choosing counties?
I think people take too long, but I mean, I guess that's anything. Like people just, you just got
Think
to go
overthink
for it,
it?
man. Like run, if you're a member, run the test, do everything that we show you, listen to this episode and take some advice from this, but you got to pull the trigger at some point and like choose an area like, okay, I'm going to learn about this area. It's not going to be perfect. The first time you mail, it's not going to go perfectly. You're going to make some mistakes. But you should, if you're doing anything correctly, be able to get a deal or two out of it.
Yeah, and that just goes back to one of the biggest mistakes we see in this whole business is analysis paralysis. So
Yep.
that's definitely like overthinking where you're going to go. The like pricing using your sales skills is more important than county selection most of the time, as long as you do relatively what we're teaching in the program, Ron. Let's talk about the last segment, Ron. Where to start if you want to get a deal, where to start in terms of county selection. How does someone go about this if they don't have any educational background, Ron? They just want to pick a county and start ripping it. Where to start?
Um, I think those price points I said are probably a good thing. Like we said some key things, like 5 acres under $100,000 market value. Don't be in the main area of a city. You're gonna the price fluctuation. I'd say 2 to 3 counties removed. I'm gonna stick on that. 2 hour drive, 2 hour drive, 2 to 3 hour drive from a decent sized city is probably a good starting point, I think. But running the numbers, seeing the days on market, I think we gave some pretty good takes on what you can do, even if you don't have any formal education, like Daniel said.
Yeah. Choose a market, two, one, two, three counties removed from a city you like. Maybe it's a city maybe start in a city where you're from or an area you're from. Maybe you're from Illinois, start in Illinois. Maybe you're from Michigan, start in Michigan. That's
Yep.
always a good place to start your hometown because you know it a little bit, and it just gives you direction. Like we said, Ron and I both agree one of the biggest mistakes we see in this business is people not being able to make decisions. And I think it helps speed them up if we say, hey, start in an area where you're from. And that gives them a little direction, somewhere to start. So that's my advice, I would say.
Exactly. I don't have much more to add, guys. You gotta just run the numbers on it, choose what you think, try to stay go against the grain. Don't be a follower with this stuff. It becomes very, very difficult. And I
Right.
think you'll definitely find some areas that you can make a ton of money in.
Exactly. This is one of the first steps in our program on this, one of the first steps in the business model, being able to choose where you're going to attack, right? You choose it, then you price your mail, you pull the data, price your mail, send the mail, then you actually get in a negotiation. This is the whole start of the process. So it's really, really exciting for you guys. Best of luck and reach out if you guys have any questions or comment on this YouTube or podcast if you have any questions. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.